Hey, Bjorn, was waiting for you, buddy. There you are. Happy Friday. Thanks. Yep, I don't know if I should say I've been working on it or just been too lazy to shave it, but there it is. Maybe hobo's in, maybe that's 2020's new deal, I have no idea. Anyway, it'll come off. Well, it'll be shaved down in a few days, I think. Good, Oliver, how are you? Hey, James. As usual, let things rolling. Quick announcement before we get going. We're over 5 cents, guys, but I'm traveling, and unfortunately, I didn't pack my pink nail polish. So nails aren't pink right now, but I promise next week I will make sure I ask Santa for some pink nail polish, and on the 27th, it's all pink, guys. Oh yeah, if you haven't noticed, by the way, new T-shirt. So if you can't read it because the lighting in here is kind of bad, it says, I probably will do it, maybe, definitely, soon. And that's me there. I don't know if I've been impeached, but there I am. And of course, ex-president CZ on the wall. And we got a nice, over here, got a nice CoinMetro logo right there on the side too. So that's one of the new, I think we have 15 new T-shirt designs so far. 12 have been printed already, so you'll see a new one on me every once in a while here. And we're going to start putting together this, I think, T-shirt of the month club. So stay tuned for that in the new year. All right, guys, let's let a few more people roll in. I'm going to adjust myself here so I can find my news topics and everything. And then we'll get rolling. All right. Maybe we'll use 2 devices. How's that? Will that make things easier? Maybe not. Hi, Andre from Portugal. Nice to see you here, buddy. All right, we'll give this a shot. Maybe this will work in our best interest here. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We'll let people roll in. They can always rewind and if they miss anything. So if you haven't been here before, my name's Kevin Murcko. I'm CEO of CoinMetro. And this is called This Week in Crypto. So a little show that I like to do on every Friday. It's a mix of market news. So first few minutes here, I go over 10 pieces of market news curated by our elite Telegram group. When I say our, I mean CoinMetro. I give about a 1 to 2 minute little blurb rant on each news topic. Then we move on to Kevin Explains Crypto. I usually have a word, phrase, something like that somehow relates to crypto. I explain what it means. Pretty easy. And then move on to live Q&A. Questions flow in here on YouTube. And I answer them as they come in. And ask me anything here really does mean ask me anything. I try not to block anyone. Obviously, if it's just an obvious troll question, that's ridiculous. Sometimes I even answer those, by the way. Sometimes I don't. And then Reddit questions. I think we had one guy post some Reddit questions last week. So I'll jump on those as well, time permitting. Yeah, Rain Man, Red Doug. I mentioned in the top of the show, I'm traveling and unfortunately forgot to pack my pink nail polish. So I'm going to ask Santa for some. And on the 27th, I guarantee you guys, promise made that I will be in pink nail polish. So come back next week to see that. But yeah, honestly, I'm traveling, sitting in my old, a quick trivia question. Does anybody remember this little office from perhaps a video during the ICO time? If anybody can tell me what that video was, I'll throw some free XCM your way. How's that? All right, so getting back in hand, let's start out with market news and we'll roll on from there. How about that, guys? Okay, so number one on the list of 10, highest in 2 years, 65% of Bitcoin hash power is in China. Report finds. Yeah, nice report. I think anybody that's ever read an article about crypto and mining would know that the highest, that Bitcoin hash power is central in China. Says the highest in 2 years. Okay, maybe there's reporting's just getting better. Maybe more people are actually reporting. Maybe they just have somebody that's actually finding out more details. I would say that hashing in China has obviously always been on the high end. 65% might not even be accurate. What it shows, though, is that Bitcoin is pretty vulnerable in terms of its hash power. Why? Well, Chinese government, as we've seen many times, can simply move from one day to the next and say, fuck you guys, bye-bye miners. And if they do that, what if a big chunk of that mining power goes offline? Is there capabilities in the pipe, so to speak, that they can just pop it on somewhere else? Are there other miners around the world that will be able to handle the load? That's a question. Number two on the list of 10, VeChain loses 6.6 million in VET tokens to hacker in attack on buyback wallet. Yeah, well, again, social engineering, guys. Just had a call, actually. Sorry, I'm a little parched. Just had a call the other day with a company that does penetration testing, and I'm sure some of you are going to meme that one. Does penetration testing as well as just vulnerability testing. And one of the things they test is social engineering. Because most of these hacks, guys, quote unquote, are social engineering hacks, meaning they get the information through means of asking someone, essentially, or fooling someone into giving it to them. And this one I think might have actually been technical based. I did read something about this earlier this week, but to be honest, I'm still a bit jet lagged. I got in at 5:30 yesterday morning here after like 30 hours of travel time. Yeah, still a little woozy. But just goes to show that now, I think what needs to be said here is that, yep, almost every week there's a hacking story. That's true. But there's a hacking story in every other industry as well. We just don't pay attention to those on the show because, well, we don't focus on any other industry. Having said that, there's more and more companies now in the crypto space, and the number of hacks I don't think has increased. That means that a lot of new companies coming in are following the rules that they should be following, and they're maintaining a better hold on their keys and on their tokens and on their coins. So I think the market is maturing in that respect. More companies flowing in, bigger projects flowing in, bigger entities outside the industry coming in. And I don't see more hacks. I think the ratio of hacks is actually falling. Number three on the list of 10, Bitcoin app BottlePay shuts down over impending EU money laundering laws. Yeah, this is just ridiculous. I mean, I think most of this is AMLD5, guys. By the way, I've seen stories quote as the 4th money laundering directive. I've seen it quoted as the 5th money laundering directive. I've seen it quoting as 5 AMLD. I've seen it quoted as AMLD5. Not even the reporters know what they're talking about. They can't even get the acronym right. So look, these laws are not that hard to follow. And again, anybody that if you got into the payments business, I don't care what you're using for payments, Apple cores, I mean, sunflower seeds, right? If you have a company right now called Sunflower Seed Express, and you're, I don't know, parsing sunflower seeds around the world in real time to make payments from, Amsterdam to Africa. And it's funny that I took a country to a continent, but anyway, and you think that you can do that without following basic AML, KYC, and just regulatory policy around payments, then you're a fool. And this is what should happen to you. And you also give up, obviously, because they could have just changed the system. They should have done it from the beginning, but they could have just ventured to change it now, and they didn't, which means they should go out of business, period, end of story. Former Kraken employee, number 4 on the list of 10, sues exchange for unethical and illegal business tactics. Well, I can't read much into that one because, look, I can tell you right now that I've run a lot of businesses in my life from all different types of sectors, and I've had employees. I was just telling somebody the other day, I'll give you a little story, right? I don't know if you guys come here for my ridiculous stories, but I'm gonna throw one out at you. So I owned a bar in Mexico years back, right? 3rd month in after opening the bar, I had a waitress go to the employer division and say that we hadn't paid her salary for 5 years. I showed up in front of the labor board and showed documents that I had bought, purchased, renovated, and opened that bar only 3 months prior. And they sided with her for a year and a half worth of salary. So the point that I'm trying to make there is that employees aren't necessarily saying the truth. Neither are employers. So like in every legal case here, you never know, it's hearsay, well, not hearsay, but it's basically him versus her, or she versus he, or whatever, they versus them. So at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know what to believe there. I won't believe anything. Let's see what a judge decides, and then we can go from there. Fidelity, number 5, to expand institutional crypto business to Europe. Well, makes sense. Fidelity already has arms into Europe, right? They've expanded all their other businesses into Europe for the most part. Why not expand this one? Europe is still kind of fertile ground because, to be honest, while the US has still not a lot of infrastructure plays, but a lot of decent sized plays when it comes to custody and let's say institutional realm business in the crypto space, Europe really doesn't. So it's kind of easy, looks to expand accredited investor classification. Yeah, but not really what everybody wants, right? I don't know if you guys have read through this, but they're looking to expand it. If you're an employee, if you're an employee of a fund or something like that, where you have some relevant knowledge, and it's going in the right direction. But to be honest, guys, I still don't get why people will complain so much about government entities that control other aspects of their life, but they don't mind government entities for the most part. Now, some people obviously don't like this, but the vast majority, because the vast majority don't invest. And you know why that is? It's not because of the laws. It's because the vast majority don't have the education to invest. They're not educated enough to know that investing is what they should do, and they leave their money in bank accounts, or they have no money in the bank because they spend it all, whatever. So really, I think we're not going to see major reform in any of these kind of accredited investor classifications until educators from primary school up to secondary school start to teach people about how to generate wealth, about how to create wealth, about how to take any means that they have and better their financial future. And to be honest, I don't see that happening anytime soon, unfortunately. And maybe at some point in my life, that's what I'm going to dedicate, when I'm older, Jesus. That's what I'm going to dedicate some of my time to, because I feel it's an epidemic, to be honest. And that's why we don't see so much pushback from the public on ridiculous laws that limit people's opportunities, because the government is, quote unquote, protecting them. Number 7 on the list of 10, Binance invests undisclosed sum in crypto derivatives platform FTX. Yeah, I said that 2 years ago that I couldn't believe Binance wasn't doing acquisitions. I think they've done one. This might be the second. They at least are starting to acknowledge the fact that they can actually buy things that do something better than they can, and then better their service. What they should be buying is a regulated, crypto exchange, so that they can actually try to reformat their main Binance exchange, so it doesn't, fall down to the wayside when that time comes at some point in the future. Number 8 on list 10, UK's oldest crypto exchange, CoinMetro, to delist Ethereum and focus solely on Bitcoin. I read this one. I actually met CEO of CoinMetro in the UK. Had a couple nice talks with him. Great guy. It's surprising and not surprising. Obviously, this means most of their volume comes from Bitcoin. So, unsurprisingly, they feel that it makes sense to just focus there. Maybe they've tried to get volume on other pairs and they haven't been able to. But it's surprising in the sense that you need to diversify income streams, right? If you're focused, imagine. Now, this is saying, obviously, from a Bitcoin maximalist standpoint, it's saying, well, Bitcoin's the only game in town. From a liquidity standpoint, that's almost true right now. But is it always going to be true? Is basing your business on one asset, right? One, even Kitco and companies like this. Kitco, if anybody doesn't know, in the commodities game is basically where everybody would go to buy gold back in the day. But then they started selling silver, palladium, metals, coins, physical delivered gold, all kinds of different things. You know why? Because you can't have one income stream. You focus on one asset, one income stream, it's very difficult to actually, unless you are the largest player and you decide to focus on that one and you maintain that status. If you're a small player and you focus on one thing, unless you're the absolute best at it, it can be hard to succeed. But we'll see what happens with them. It'd be interesting to find out. Number 9 on the list, of 9 actually. I only see 9 on the list this week. Mining report shows 65%. Oh, and that's the same as number 1. All right. Well, I guess that's it for the news, guys. All right, so running on to Kevin Explains Crypto. We'll knock that out real quick. So Kevin Explains Crypto term this week is sharding. I have to admit, the first time I heard the word sharding was probably 15 years ago, because it's not a crypto term by its very nature. It is I would say, a sysops term. It's a system operator term, a techie term. And I laughed. I thought it was hilarious because I had just seen a movie where someone, quote unquote, sharded himself. So I just brought me back images of that movie, and I kind of was giggling and I couldn't stop. But sharding, so what is sharding? So in databases, you have an issue, right? The database gets so large that even a small process inside that database can take a lot of time to complete. So what sharding does is it takes pieces, very small shards of that database, and it puts it on a different instance and a different server per se. It's usually a virtual server, but let's assume your database is here on this one massive virtual server, start to run slow. Take a little piece, you stick it on this server, take a little piece, stick it on this server. Maybe each little piece is for a different process that the database runs. This way, when that process needs to run, it's running a very small piece of that entire database inside of another instance or another virtual machine, makes it faster. In crypto and blockchain, the idea is that same thing, if you have one kind of, let's say, mass block size, your block size is huge, then every time you have to run a transaction, you're having to deal with that block. If you shard that block, make it much smaller across many different computers inside the network, that it can actually run faster. So there are problems with sharding. Sharding is nothing new. It didn't solve all our database issues in the past with traditional databases. It's not going to solve all the issues with blockchain either, but it is an option. So that's what sharding is, guys. All right, so moving on. Let's go to Ask Me Anything. Actually, I'm just going to run on Reddit. I got one question on Reddit, so I'm just going to knock it out, right? Crypto deeds. Does CoinMetro have a publicly available roadmap? Currently, no, but that is part of our plan right now as we reformat a bit after our little fundraising round. We have a sharded roadmap internally, to be quite honest, and we need to put it all together. And yes, part of that, the whole transparency angle of CoinMetro was to have a publicly available roadmap always, and even 10 years from now on the website, so that people can see what we're doing, even if it's just updates and everything like that. Have a list where the updates are posted, change logs, all that stuff. So yes, all in the works. No specific timeline on when we're going to have that out, but as we get closer and closer to finalizing all the different big bits and pieces of our release schedule, that's definitely something we're going to look at to accomplish moving forward. How is CoinMetro planning to improve adoption on the exchange? Well, we've never done marketing this, so it's not about the retention rate of people that come to the exchange is actually quite high. We simply just haven't gotten the word out there. So the first rule in adoption is awareness. So it's spending money on marketing, and right now we're in the depths of hiring out and expanding our marketing team and looking for the diamond in the rough, to make sure that we hire the people that we know that can bring us to that next step, which is basically sales and conversions. So what are there plans to improve accessibility to the exchange? I, for example, couldn't do my KYC for close to 5 to 6 months until the process was changed. Well, there you go. The process was changed, right? And you weren't the only guy who couldn't do it for 5 to 6 months, but there weren't many, to be quite honest, in terms of percentages. I think a lot of people came from this idea that, crypto was KYC less and frictionless. And we were one of the first guys, if not the first guys, to say, well, that's not going to happen. Eventually, very soon, that's not going to be the case. And that's what's happened. So I think a lot of competitors now that need to roll out KYC programs now, you can look at Bitpanda, or even some other, even things like Shapeshift that had to do it over the course, are doing it sloppily. Now, yeah, we went through a lot of growing pains with KYC. And we've been doing KYC for years. It's just that, we tried to make a new type of process for crypto, and that took some time. And we're still making it better. So I think we have a 1.5 tier coming out pretty soon, which basically will allow a certain amount of money movements with minimal identification verification. We've also have, live video that has come out. We've had many things that have come out, And as you said, you weren't able to do it, now you can, and you're not the only one. And there are still people that have issues. Even with the most minimal KYC, there's going to be issues. But we continue to streamline, and our goal is to make sure that, high 90 percentile of everyone is able to get through that process in the most seamless way possible. So that's it from Reddit, guys. So let's jump into the AMA here. Let me scroll back up. Let's see. Amazix AMA video, Bjorn, right on the money. Nice. All right, hit me up on a DM, and I'll get you some XAM over to you. I'm just gonna make up a number, so get ready for that. But yeah, correct. First like PR video we ever did for the ICO. Actually, was sitting in this room. So nice one. I remember the video in that office. It was featured a long time ago on CM's YouTube page. Yep, Carlo coming in right behind Bjorn, faster on the trigger. Jens as well. Yep, Roger, I'm sitting in Mexico. Just for pretty much after today's done and I get through the weekend, got some work to get through on the weekend. Monday's like a half day basically, and then I'll have 4 days of family time. And then from there, next week after that, I'm coming back to Estonia in the 2nd, and between then and the 2nd, I will be actually doing work. So I'll be working on an event, this event that's going to happen here on the 15th, 16th, working with the organizers, and then meeting back with a few contacts to start our licensing process here in the country. Our market maker's in place and operating. Fergus, 27th is the date the market maker gave us to go live, so still waiting on that. Is Tram delayed again? Oliver, I haven't been in the complete Tram talks, though we have reformatted a bit on how communications work. So people don't know Oliver's official title now. It's basically, I'm not going to say official title because I never remember what the actual title is, but basically, it's basically kind of head of communications and product lead. So he's taken over lead of the product, and he basically handles communication and makes sure that it's streamlined between marketing, support, and development. So he's been streamlining a bit and changing the way that process has been working up until now. And so far, so good. So I've been privy to some of those talks and seen some of the chats on Slack. And I know we were pushing now for the week. Usually, a lot of our development happens on weekends. Why is that? Because we have a small development team, and our development team has to deal with current state of the platform as well. So when there's any kind of errors, issues, even when they're small, that diverts a bit of attention throughout the week. But on the weekend, because we kind of shut down access to those guys from customer support, for example, for the most part, unless it's an egregious issue or something that needs immediate attention, and can put all eyes on the price. Are we having problems, Sammy Garano? No, Sammy's back. Nope, no problems here, buddy. Are there cryptos to be traded on CM currently under review by LHV? And if so, which ones? How far is the self-review process? So I haven't been pestering LHV on the self-review process because they'll be in our offices on January 6th for our compliance audit. And at that point, I'll have them there all day for 8 hours. I will pester the shit out of them. Why they pester the shit out of us? So it'll be a give and take. Outside of that, no, we haven't submitted. We're in the process of putting together, I think, and actually Pavel from compliance has been working with our head of legal to fine tune the list. I believe there's maybe 4, 5, 6 on the list right now that's being put together that will be submitted on or before that January 6th date that they come to our offices. Yeah, sharded. But when you say it, right, sharded. Like when I heard it the first time, that's what popped into my head. Anyway. Assume you are looking still for fundings. This is Jens. To mitigate the current runway is a little too short. Do you do that, or did you change your approach here under what are the current talks? Yep, obviously fundraising is still ongoing, so that hasn't changed. To be honest, from a fintech standpoint, even if 5 million falls on us tomorrow, funding will still be ongoing because even you reach self-sustainability, we go into profitability. We still need to, especially as we go into profitability, to make it sustainable. We need to then copy the approach we've done in Europe, copy it elsewhere, which requires licensing, which requires other things. So this kind of fundraising phase, though it will morph, it will change. It's not going to stay the same. Obviously, when you're doing month-to-month financing, and then you get a little chunk and then you get some self-sustainability moving around, some profitability moving around, you're obviously not making the same approach. You're now looking at different investors, you're looking at debt, you're looking at other things to finance additional kind of journeys down the road. So it will change for sure. Right now, it's similar, but not identical. You mentioned you were looking to resume talks with Chainlink before. Any updates? So Chainlink reached out to us. I actually missed the call because I had something double booked last week, and they reached out to us again and said that we hope we can get on a call. So I'm going to try next week before the holidays. If not after the holidays, we'll definitely link back up. That was a terrible joke. But all right. Is the airdrop family idea still on the table? Yep, still exists. We need to get a new legal review, and we're gonna probably get that done in the beginning of the new year to understand how we can best make that thing work under current regulation, and perhaps get more and more people into the mix. Brian, what is your opinion about XCM prices? Organic growth or some whales buying XCM? Hey, Brian, we've been pretty open about this. So as said on many AMAs leading up to this closing of this piece of our funding round, those investors were going to buy XCM. Obviously, we didn't disclose the amount they were buying. We did disclose the fact that we would be buying that XCM on their behalf. That process, we did disclose when that process started. That process is coming to an end by the 22nd. What I will say, though, is that though we have been buying XCM on their behalf and looking to get the volume-weighted average price as low as we possibly can in that process, but by way of systemic automated buying, I can tell you that on days where we've seen the biggest increases, we've only been 5 to maybe 15% of the overall buying into the book. So for the most part, we've done small buys that have triggered outside individuals and actually obviously people that have been current clients at CoinMetro, some of those people that weren't activated clients from the past, even before the ICO, into buying. So it's not a whale per se, it's small calculated buys out of a pool that are triggering additional buys by the public, basically. Many people can spend more time during vacation times in large parts of the next 2 weeks. Isn't there any logic in having TRAM pushed online as soon as possible? That's true and not true. Well, in my experience, talk about FX, for example, Christmas is dead. It gets extremely volatile because all the institutions pull the money out. That's not necessarily the case here because, well, there's not really much institutional money. But, and it gets too volatile, and retail guys, while they're on vacation, don't want to stare at a chart for the most part. So around Christmas and around the summer, when you would think people had more time to trade, actually volumes usually dwindle. So having said that, regardless, getting TRAM out as soon as possible is what we want to do. So it's not that we're delaying it because we think there may be low volumes, or we're trying to get it faster because we think there may be high volumes. Look, this is a long game. We play the long game here at CoinMetro, right? That's why, yeah, soon. So, playing the long game means that we always want to get things out as fast as we can. We want to do it as best we can. But at the end of the day, we know that getting it out on Monday or Wednesday, regardless if we would have missed a Tuesday of huge volume and we missed some incoming funds, is not the end of the world. And it's just about getting the things done, and that's it. Were you running businesses in your early mid-20s? Yes, Roger, I was. First business I had was a kiosk selling, actually, no, it wasn't my first business. Let me think about this. Well, when I was 14, maybe 13, 14, in the summer, I lived in upstate, northeast United States. So in the summers, I would mow grass at a little landscaping business around the 2 or 3 blocks where I lived. And then when in the winter, I would shovel snow. And I had an older guy up the street that was slightly older than me, 4 or 5 years older, had a pickup truck, and we both chipped in and bought a plow so we could actually plow out some parking lots and things to some commercial enterprises around the block as well. And so that was kind of my first business. And I've been in textiles, I've been in retail, I've had businesses in real estate, I've had businesses in consumer electronics, all types of different businesses. So yeah, time to cut the talk and start taking action. All right, Lance, awesome. I think we're always taking action. I'm not the only guy here, right? You might see me sitting in this room, but there's 20 some odd other people around the world right now taking action all the time. On the email newsletters, said you guys were hiring soon. What positions? We got a lot of positions open. Actually, we got customer service positions, finance positions. We got positions in marketing, head of digital, content, head of marketing, some intermingling there a little bit. On the development side, senior and junior devs, as well as UI, UX. So lots of different positions, actually. Let's start talking about something real. War Series is about to be trademarked. What are your thoughts on that? War Series. I don't even know what that is. So sorry. But if you can, give me a tidbit of information, I might be able to give an opinion. Once the MVP, Jordan is asking for the CSD is completed in January, what are the next steps in order to get fully live? Well, CoinMetro is still in the application process because we haven't sent some additional documents that were requested, mainly because we've been busy. The CSD will start the application process in the beginning, mid-January, when everybody comes back from vacation, which is about the same time that the MVP will be ready to be tested. I think we're going to coordinate then, so CoinMetro and the CSD enter the sandbox pretty much at the same time. And then we will launch our first issuance in the CSD, and CoinMetro will start to list tokens that probably already exist at first, that might not necessarily be at the CSD, but just to show how a regulated MTF would work. And then eventually, once we start getting more issuances on the CSD side, the two companies will play together a little bit more in terms of showing how a complete market cycle works from primary to secondary market to settlement. What do you think about the glorification teen crush of your person and parts of your upper face in Telegram? Interesting way to put it. As I was reading that, I almost thought I was going to get into like some X-rated commentary, but fortunately we didn't. Well, I guess we could talk about some type of psychology of cultism, if you want. But I wasn't a psychology major, but I'm pretty sure I could talk about it. But having said that, I think that, look, when it comes to marketing, guys, and I know everybody, we've been talking about marketing a lot. We haven't done much yet, but we've been talking about it quite a lot. And in terms of marketing, it's becoming, especially with the fact that social media is becoming the only media almost for most people. Companies can seem to people on the outset, especially newer generations, as being dishonest. So it's become more and more necessary to focus a branding campaign and to get awareness and branding and let's say, so people can basically see the head of the company, and the person needs to be personified, and it needs to be that person needs to kind of have a relationship with their communities. If not, the business suffers. So I think from that aspect, this is natural. This is a natural progression. I think it happens in almost every business that focuses something on community or about awareness or branding, personal branding of let's say the CEO or COO, depends on the company, who kind of holds the I don't know, the keys to the vault, so to speak, keys to the city. So I think it's kind of amusing. All these T-shirts, I just was talking yesterday that I think the next couple of T-shirts should just be like CoinMetro memes. Like, I don't really want to be on every one. I kind of feel a bit, I'm going to walk around the city or whatever with everybody. I mean, they used to see me with the CoinMetro logo. Now they're going to see me with my face on my own T-shirt. I have, you have the meme wall in the office, right? And that meme wall, even after it was up, I thought to myself, Jesus, anybody who walks in this office the first time is going to look at this thing and go, this guy's got some problems. Because it looks like I did it myself, like I was back there one day, like, I don't know, drooling and like drinking a beer and I don't know, like mumbling to myself and literally making pictures of myself and putting them on a wall. So, but I think, to be honest, I like things that are a bit quirky. I have no problem with being, outside of the norm. So I think overall it helps. It helps with my personal branding, which at the end of the day helps with CoinMetro and the CSD as well. Miles asking, you mentioned that the new funding would allow CM to pay outstanding invoices. Can you please update me on my invoice? Hey, Miles, look, yes, I did mention that. And I'll be very blunt right here in open public with you. So we have runway for six to 8 months with that money. If we don't get to some form of self-sustainability, we're going to be back in the same situation where we were before the funding came in. So yes, when funding comes in, obviously we never put a number on that, I think we had discussions personally about a minimum of 500K. But 500K literally would have been 2 months. So to be honest, there isn't really a way, there would be no way for us really to take that money and expect any larger runway, very clear runway. We need, even with just the minimal changes into what we're spending so that we can actually support a marketing campaign and things like that, we're limiting our marketing spend to about 200K. And anything that gets spent into that is going to hurt the ability for us to grow. Hurting our ability to grow means that, well, we might not be here. Now, I'm saying that, I mean, anybody who's here for the first time, understand that there's really no way in hell I would let this company go under. Even if we had no money for months, I guarantee you there'd be a few people on the team that were still working. Definitely one of those would be me, just like I did at FX Pig when we had no money, in 22-hour shifts. And if that needs to be done, it gets done. The point is that the analysis changed. So many invoices that were due have been paid. There are still some on the shelf that haven't. And we're working to see how we get through those invoices. Having said that, I'm not finance, right? So as we've been growing, I don't have my finger on the account. I don't even approve payments anymore. All that gets done by finance. So from that standpoint, and I think there's a bit of back and forth about just, I don't know, the value of the services delivered. Now, I'm not making a public comment about that. I don't really have a comment to make. All I can say there is that it needs to stay with finance. That's their job. When are you getting that Dutch IEO? January? We're in touch with them. So I think the IEO would probably go February or March because they have some preparation they need to do on their side, especially from a marketing aspect. But I do think that we will be going live with it at some point in the new year. When do you see debit cards start to roll out? That depends. We're contemplating right now going after our own payment institution license. If we do that, we will wait for that license to happen. That's 6 months, more or less from when we submit documentation, which could take 4 to 6 weeks to put together. If we decide to go with the AR, the authorized representative license in the UK, it can happen faster, but it also limits our ability and limits our profitability on the products. So that's a good question to re-ask me in about 3 weeks, because we're going over what our strategy is going to be in doing that. And to make a decision, we need to understand timeframes from the AR provider, the authorized representative license, and that's still a little bit murky for me. When and how can we buy t-shirts? It's awesome. We're figuring out how we're going to do that as well. I don't know if we're going to have like a t-shirt of the month club where you just pay a fixed fee in XCM every month to get a new t-shirt. We may just sell them one off. I think the t-shirt of the month makes sense. We can have a few exclusive t-shirts there that you can't get unless you're part of the club. So anyway, we're working on that. We're working on that, buddy. We'll let you know, gents. We'll let you know. What if you don't find a head of marketing in the next 6 months? We will. We will. To be honest, when it comes to, we actually have 2 or 3 decent candidates already. And we're just trying to figure out how many, if we want to focus on one person that wears multiple hats, 2 people that wear half of those hats together. And then who's going to focus on what, in terms of whether it's digital, whether it's content, because most of these guys have aptitudes in different areas. So, any thoughts on Realty, the functionalized real estate project on Ethereum? Not really, no. To be honest, I haven't read too much about it to give you an opinion. So, can't really say much. Sorry, guys. I'm guessing you saw my grandchildren rendition of your company's t-shirt on Twitter, Hank McDonald. I'm guessing you saw my grandchildren's rendition of your company's t-shirt. I don't know, Hank. I think I missed it, actually. I have to check now. Actually, you know what? I'm going to open Twitter right now. Did you tweet it at me? And when was it? Because I don't remember seeing it, to be quite honest. Let's see. Let's see, Hank. I don't know what your name is on Twitter, Hank, but I'm doing a quick Hank search through my, and let's see, and I don't see it. So you're going to have to either retweet me or post a link, and then I'll have a look. But I'd love to see it. Was the pink nail polish sold out? No, Casey, actually, I'm traveling, and I didn't pack it because it wasn't the first thing on my mind. Usually, I don't wear nail polish in December. So yeah, I didn't pack it. I traveled. But I made a promise at the top of the show that next week on the 27th, I'm pink. I'm pink, boys. Pink nails all out. So, and depending on how the response is, I may just keep it on all day, go around the city, and give you guys some selfies and some portraits of people staring at me funny with pink nails. So. You're having extremely raw feedback. The room size brings a large echo. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. And we're kind of late into the show right now to make any changes about that. But I can try to lower my mic volume if maybe that helps. Let's see, mute my mic volume. That's not going to do anything. Anyway, sorry. But next week I'll fix this. All right, sorry about that. What does margin posting do? Margin posting is, right now we have a January, February dev schedule. It's not there. So I'm going to say probably into March and April is when margin posting will appear. Daniel P says Miles has been with CoinMetro for more than 2 years, but still has outstanding invoice. Well, he hasn't been with us for 2 years. He did work during the ICO, of which, to my knowledge, he was paid up to a certain extent. Then there was some outstanding invoices tied to what was raised during the ICO. Those are what's been in contention, but he hasn't been actively working with us since then. So at the time to be honest, and this is just, again, I'm a pretty transparent guy. We had similar deals with other people, and they submitted invoices to us right after the ICO ended and were paid immediately. I don't think Miles submitted an invoice for months. He said it was because he was trying to help us out. But knowing Miles, and don't take this the wrong way, Miles, but I remember he used to carry on a stack of receipts. And I think it was just procrastination that led to a late delivery of an invoice. Because I remember that many, many times. And so had the invoice come right away, we wouldn't be chatting about this now. I'll tweet it. Thank you, Bank. Appreciate it. Do you have a realistic date for Tram? Can't wait here. It's a big difference between 2 and 10 days. I don't actually, because I'm not running the communications right now. So Oliver would have a better understanding of exactly where we are and what's needed. I know testing has been ongoing. I can see it in the testing channel. I know that UI UX problems are pretty much down to nil. I know that in terms of functionality, I don't think we have any major bugs that are still left on the table. So we're close. I know that. David, what are you going to use the funds for? Going to hire any more dev designers? Hey, David, we've discussed this on the last couple of AMAs and I already discussed it on this one because you came in a bit late. Not your fault, I guess. It's being spent on operations. It's being spent on hiring, marketing, devs, other people in support, other people in compliance, finance, etc. Also being spent on marketing. About roughly 15% of the budget will be spent on straight marketing in terms of marketing buys, and that'll happen over the next 6 months. Okay, Daniel. Yeah, well, yeah, hasn't been an active employee since I think right after the ICO. What are your opinion about crypto in 2020, same as 2019? Yeah, my general idea about crypto hasn't changed. Obviously, I'm still here, so I still believe in many things that crypto stands for. Maybe not stands for, but is in my mind. I think that we still have a lot of the same problems in terms of how people look at us, even though that's changed a bit. We still have a lot of the same problems in terms of how some of the biggest players in crypto talk about crypto publicly. I think price-wise, as this market continues to mature very, 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 very slowly, we're going to see, I don't think, this 100,000K Bitcoin and all this. Look, Bitcoin is valuable today because it is where liquidity is. It's not as valuable as it could be because of Tether, because Tether is where a lot of liquidity went. Obviously, mostly, I hate to say it, but nefarious activity, more than likely, not mostly, but let's say a high percentage. How about that? If Tether didn't exist, Bitcoin would be more liquid and Bitcoin would be worth more money. So I think that we still suffer some problems. We still need to have a lot of we still have a lot of maturing to do as an industry. But generally speaking, my overlook of crypto in general, outside of pricing, hasn't changed much. I still think we're maturing slowly. And I think overall, we're getting more and more players from outside of crypto in finance to understand that crypto isn't the devil incarnate. And it's allowing us to open some more doors, whether that's banking, whether that's through custody, whether that's through traditional places like Germany, where banks can now hold crypto directly, et cetera. We'll be able to shortly. All these things need to happen for businesses like ours, CoinMetro, to flourish. People might think it's the opposite, that we're too late, that once bank. Not true, because look at banks. Revo's here, N26 is here. Pi challengers exist because banks suck at doing mostly everything except for loaning money. So they're not great at custody, they're not great at payments. So don't expect them to get great at payments and custody just because they have a new tool, because they've had lots of tools, trust me, over the years and haven't used them so well. When do you think the next financial crisis will happen? Crises are bubbles, guys. Crisis, bubbles, all these things are cyclical. Obviously, in most people's minds, the last big crisis or whatever bubble burst was 2008. That was 12 years ago now. Most crises happen every 20 years, though recessions of all sizes tend to happen between 10 and 15 years. So we're probably due for somewhat of a recession, though I don't think we're really a global recession. Not a global, well, I would say isolated recessions around the world. Though obviously, if the U.S., Europe, and and China go into recession at the same time, you're going to see a global recession. But global recessions aren't necessarily a bad thing, right? It's just like when a forest burns down, right? Sometimes forest burns down because, well, things need to be reforested, right? Forest comes back more healthy. So don't look at crises and things like that in a bad light. If you're looking from a macro perspective, if you look from a micro perspective, it's like your own, you lose your job or whatever. That fucking sucks. That's for sure. But in a macro perspective, these things are needed. So I think consumer credit is going to be the next big bubble. I think that's probably going to happen mid-2000 to the late 20s. And when that happens, it's going to be worse than the mortgage crisis, because we have middle classes expanding all around the world. Continent of Africa, lots of middle classes in Nigeria, lots of middle class happening in South Africa, etc. Then you have places like China, the middle class is exploding. India, it's starting to explode. Middle class is great in terms of the fact that it means that the country is progressive. However, middle class take on debt. And as debt gets cheaper in those countries and they take on more debt, they will also get consumer debt. Consumer debt has never really even existed in those countries for the most part. And it's going to start to balloon. And when that consumer credit bubble starts to pop, let's say late 2020 and 2030, et cetera, it will be massive. There will be massive amounts of defaults. And I think that's the next major one. I just tweeted it. Okay, I'll check up there in a bit. Thanks, Hank. What kind of volume do you expect? See, Oliver saying tomorrow on Tram. Boom, weekend, like I said, guys. What kind of volume do you expect the two algo traders to break? Don't know yet. Don't know yet. We know what volume they do in ratio to how much money they hold on hand, but that's based on pricing from other sources. So as I can tell you, what I've learned in FX over the years is that you can have the same system operate on the same currency pair. I've seen it in stocks as well, but anyway, same thing can happen in crypto. Same thing does happen in crypto. So the pricing feed can almost look identical, but you put that system on two different brokers, same asset, two different pricing feeds, and they perform dramatically different. Fill ratios are dramatically different. The volumes are dramatically different, and the overall success or failure is dramatically different. So I don't know yet. We will know as soon as we see a couple weeks of volume, even on a very small account, because then we'll know per X, this is Y volume. So we don't know yet, but we do know that there'll be higher volume than an average trader, that's for sure. In and of themselves, that is, and not the total volume. Okay. If I participate in Tram, will I be able to see individual trades done by Tram? Yes, of course. You'll see every trade that's done and your allocation of that trade, meaning the trade size on your account. 100% transparency there. One nation, one race. Okay, John. Next crisis already started. When last ended, it's just maturing and will peak in 10 to 15 years. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. They're cyclical, right? So it's like, you're right. As soon as one hits the top, the other one started, and then it hits the top. So you're 100% correct there. Do you think by the end of 2020, CM can be in the top 5 exchanges in the world and Europe? Yes, I think that's possible for sure. I think a lot of, I still believe, and when it happens, I'll tip my hat to everybody, but major exchanges that currently exist won't be there. Now, the time frame when that happens depends on lots of things. That could be 2020, 2021, 2022. Don't know, to be quite honest. But the tides will change, and when it does, sure. I think Europe is definitely an easier get for us within that time frame, though it's still, still only a year away. So we have some work cut out for us, that's for sure. But maybe not 2020 in terms of global domination. But yes, it's definitely possible. Would you say XM is spread thinly enough among clients, or do you think there are too many whales? I don't think there's too many whales. I think we have 7,000 people roughly that own XCM. Obviously, you have shareholders thing like that hold more than the average person. But over those 7,000, I think there's only a handful of people that have what I would consider to be a big stake, big in relative terms. Once XCM is more stable, will you make it the only way to use Tram? That is the goal, yes. But I don't know if we want to limit. Well, it depends. It depends. The goal is to make it at least the majority holder in all aspects of the platform, and Tram is one of them. Maybe we would have XCM trams that were simply had some benefits to them, and we have BTC-based trams, Ether-based trams that had less of a benefit. Maybe they cost a bit more to enter. Maybe fees were a bit higher, whatever. Have you had experience with traders comparable to those first two tram managers in FX? How do they perform? To be honest, I haven't done like a full walkthrough of the tram managers to understand how their systems work. But without even knowing, I would say probably yes, because I've seen thousands of PAM. So what would be a portfolio percentage allocation kind of management module, management strategy system, management module, I guess, where one trades for others. I've seen thousands of them. So I don't, and most of those 1,000 you could put into like 3 or 4 baskets, right? They all tend to do similar things. So with crypto, what else? What I'll say about crypto, it's almost all retail money. It's easier to trade from someone who knows how to read a chart. Why is that? Well, retail people are sheep for the most part. Don't take this the wrong way. What that means is that they don't have enough trading education to be able to make, and outside of trading education, guys, you have to understand that, look, theoretically, anybody can learn anything, right? Learning to change your traits, how you act is difficult, very difficult. Some people just can't do it. And what makes a trader for the most part is risk management. And part of risk management is knowing when to quit. And some people just can't take a stop out. They can't take a stop loss, guys. They're down 2% and they're like, it's going to come back. They're down 10%, it's going to come back. Then they go down 30% and then they say, well, it's too late now. Just wait, it'll come back. And then they're on the, it's going to come back bus until the account blows up. And I've seen that happen a million times, probably literally a million times. So creating a system or being a good trader or whatever is not for everyone. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not disciplined, you'll never make it. Outside of that, we're talking about, automated strategies. I think what you need to understand is that the vast majority of strategies fail. And it's usually because people don't pay attention to it. Having said that, again, retail, because this market is mostly retail, it follows the retail code of conduct, kind of to make up a term right now on air. Retail code of conduct, meaning that people generally like to get in at 0s and 5s. They're using, RSI and all these lane indicators. And so a trader can just basically take Fibonacci or some basic support and resistance kind of methodology and understand how to trade right from the chart. Even just looking at a naked chart can be quite easy. When you're dealing with professional traders, institutional guys, charts are much harder to read because they're looking at the same chart, knowing what the retail traders are doing, and they're thinking along the same lines as you. But they also understand there's institutional guys that know exactly what's going to happen as well. So they have to play between knowing what retail will do to almost 100 percentile, like absolutely knowing what the retail will do, and mainly only knowing 50% of what institutions will do. And institutions have money; they can move the market faster. So it's a much more difficult game. Most other exchanges wash trade or report false volumes. Will there be an authority to stop this in crypto? Regulation is the authority that's there to mitigate that. Yes. Look, wash trading happens in every market. Every market. Sometimes it's caught, sometimes it's not. Just like insider trading happens in every market. Sometimes it's caught, sometimes it's not. But in order to get a license, you need to show you're a trustworthy person. You're fit and proper. All your team is fit and proper, and you need to, and all those kind of policies are put in place. It mitigates this down to a very, very, very low percentile. So yes, that's what regulation is for, guys. Whether the one thing that regulation is good at in terms of all the kind of barriers it puts is filtering out nonsense and creating a more, I would say, clean market. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a fairer market in many aspects, but it's cleaner. What will be the key drivers of revenue payment transfer CSD? Okay, so CSD, again, separate company, guys. CoinMetro will not make money off of direct CSD operations, but the CSD will help CoinMetro system for trading globally, cross-border, in real time, securities on the DLT. So it depends, guys. Right now, obviously, things like margin, any product where we can make multiple revenue streams. On margin, we make interest, swap interest, make a fee based on a percentage of open exposure, which in other markets would be called swap or swap interest. We also make commission because people can trade on more money than they have. That commission obviously gets inflated. When you talk about TRAM is trade on margin. So add on top of that we make a percentage of the performance fees generated by the manager. That's another revenue stream. It's all based on the exchange, but it adds additional revenue streams. Payments, yes, payments, you can make a good deal of money. FX, you can make a good deal of money. Debit cards is FX and payments all wrapped into one. And if they're choosing BTC or some type of crypto to pay with, then we're doing an exchange as well. Again, multiple revenue streams, one product, all branching back to the exchange. So on some type of transfers, we can make a lot of money because we can charge almost nothing. But we can leverage those payments in a certain way to actually make more money on each payment. So it depends. It depends. But the key is to finding products that can use multiple pieces of the infrastructure to give you multiple revenue streams with one product. And TRAM is one of them. Adding on to the wash trade question, would CoinMetro do something like a yearly audit from an external provider to certify that CoinMetro doesn't wash trade to silence the haters? Look, as we get more and more regulated, we will have to do audits. So it's not necessarily a wash trade audit, but wash trading, if we're doing it, becomes entirely see-through in a financial audit because a large amount of revenue would come from it. And then when the revenue comes from there, you have to show transactions behind that revenue, and it becomes pretty obvious. So I would have no problem doing that, yes. And in fact, I think we've talked about actually doing this. Right now, with such low volumes, it's not so meaningful. I think we're going to start to see third-party companies come out, something like a CoinMarketCap that actually does something with the data they receive to create metrics that can actually see if wash trading is happening to a certain extent. And I think when those third parties come out, they're going to charge exchanges more than likely to connect. And those companies are going to become quite big, and it's going to be a place for third-party trust into the system. So, and we'll definitely play ball with any legitimate company that does something like that. How come that nothing is happening to Binance when they care little and little? Well, it's not that nothing is happening. Lots of things have happened. You just haven't seen them. Don't think that they got out of the U.S. because, they just one day woke up and said that they should do that. Don't think that they've stopped taking clients from a lot of countries just because they woke up one day and said they couldn't do that. They are definitely getting letters and different things. They obviously feel that nothing can happen to them. I think they're somewhat shielded by the Chinese government. Where have you seen a Chinese national that runs a company that breaks laws left and right that has been thrown in jail? It doesn't usually happen. So, but having, even with all that, it's very apparent to me that it will happen. And it's just these type of cases, guys, when it's a big case that's being looked at by, let's say, the U.S. government, for example, will take 3 to 5 years to come to fruition, usually. So Binance hasn't even been around 3 years. So patience is what I'd have to say on that one. It's hard to create a CM version of CoinMarketCap that cuts out all the false data report. It's not hard. Getting people to use it might be hard. Because it's a data engine that's used to compare exchanges built and run by an exchange. A little bit of a conflict of interest, but building the CoinMarketCap, what they have is not hard to build. That's for sure. We are talking with some investors. I mean, there's no specific hardcore talks right now, like close to close, but yes, on the CSD as well, talking to investors constantly, basically. And as well on not constantly, but let's say there's a constant kind of flow back and forth between different people. And we're going to start doing a more local push for that as well inside of Estonia after the holidays. So no real, let's say, hard data to throw out right now about investors, because now that we just got this little round closed now, my focus has shifted just a bit, just to make sure that we're going in the right direction, that we're now focused. Everybody knows what they need to do with this money. Once we get that into fine tuning over the next 30 to 60 days, and maybe 30 days before we really start a marketing push, I will divert back to business development and kind of fundraising almost full time. So, all right, guys, we just crossed the hour. It was pretty good timing. So yeah, good question from Daniel P. Yeah, look, I'm all about transparency. So everything we can do to make ourselves more transparent, we're willing to do it. Now, obviously, there's certain things that there is a transparency that slows down operations. So sometimes that can happen. So sometimes you have to hold back a bit to make sure that you're able to actually process things faster and get things done. But for the most part, all that type of data, I have no problem sharing. Right? Most of that data could be gleaned by someone just by checking, watching an order book or connecting to an API and pulling the data themselves. So it's not like it's hidden. It's just maybe hard to decipher for many people, but it's already kind of public information. With AMLD5 coming in January, is CoinMetro the only exchange that is compliant? I don't think we're the only one, but the list of compliant exchanges is probably, 5% or less, maybe even 3% of all the exchanges that currently exist, I would imagine, fully compliant. All right, guys, have a great weekend. If you celebrate it, have a great Christmas, spend time with friends and family, put a Santa hat on. XCM makes a great Christmas present, guys, even at these prices, seriously. If I had like a banner, I should buy XCM. So yeah, buy some XCM. Don't look at prices. Take a few days off. Spend some time with friends and family. You never know when you won't be able to do that anymore. So take care of that now, guys. Trust me. And outside of that, have a great weekend. I'll see you guys on Telegram. Tag me if you have any questions at Kevin Murcko. Tag me on Twitter with the same at Kevin Murcko. Tag me on Instagram if you like. Yeah, let's keep in touch. Have a great holiday. I will see you before New Year's, so I won't say Happy New Year's yet. I'll be in pink on the 27th, so get ready for that. Let's see. Look, if we can get to 7 cents, guys, by next Friday, then not only will I have pink nails, but let's just say I'll take it even a step further. So if anybody, I don't know why you want to see that, but if anybody wants to see that, jump in the game, buy some XCM, give it away for Christmas. Anyway, guys, have a great weekend. Thanks for being here. Appreciate the time as always. Appreciate the questions. Appreciate the support. And see you guys soon.